For 3 years, I let my neighbor Carl treat me like dirt, mocking my age, stealing my newspaper, and making my life miserable every single day. I never fought back because I'd promised myself I'd left violence behind when I retired from the Army Rangers. But the day he put his hands on my 8-year-old granddaughter, something inside me snapped, and he learned why you should never push a soldier too far. If you want to know what happened when this old ranger finally had enough, hit that subscribe button and smash the like, because what I did next is something I'll never regret. My name is George, and I'm 71 years old. I spent 23 years in the Army Rangers, serving in Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan. I did 3 tours in combat zones, led men through situations most people can't even imagine, and earned more commendations than I care to count. But when I retired at 55, I made myself a promise. I was done with violence. I'd seen enough, done enough. I wanted peace. So I bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood in Tennessee, started a woodworking hobby, and tried to live out my remaining years in tranquility. Then Carl Mitchell moved in next door. Carl was 48, divorced, angry at the world, and seemed to take special pleasure in making my life difficult. It started small. He'd park his truck so close to my driveway that I could barely get my car out. When I politely asked him to move it, he'd laugh and say, "What's wrong, old man? Can't handle a little tight squeeze." His music would blast until 2 in the morning. His dog would tear up my flower beds. And every morning, without fail, he'd steal my newspaper off my porch before I could get to it. I never confronted him. I'd just order another newspaper, replant my flowers, and ignore the music. My neighbor across the street, Dorothy, couldn't understand it. "George, why don't you call the police? Why do you let him treat you like that?" I couldn't explain it to her. How do you tell someone that you're afraid of what you might become if you let your anger out? I'd spent 2 decades learning how to hurt people efficiently. I knew exactly how much pressure it took to break a collarbone, where to strike to disable someone instantly, how to end a threat permanently. That knowledge scared me, so I swallowed my pride and let Carl be Carl. But Carl kept pushing. He'd see me working in my garden and shout insults. "Hey, Grandpa, you forget where you planted your dentures." His friends would come over, and they'd sit on his porch drinking beer and laughing about the old geezer next door who's too scared to do anything about it. Once, he purposely backed his truck into my mailbox, destroying it, then claimed it was an accident and refused to pay for it. I replaced the mailbox myself and said nothing. My daughter Sarah started noticing the tension. She'd bring my granddaughter Emma over every Saturday, and she could see how Carl treated me. "Dad, this is ridiculous. Let me talk to him, or let's call the police." "It's fine, honey," I'd tell her. "He's just angry about his own life. Eventually, he'll get bored." But he never got bored. If anything, my refusal to react seemed to make him worse. He started making comments about how pathetic I was, how I was probably never even in the real military, probably just pushed papers somewhere safe. If he only knew the truth. If he only knew about Fallujah, about the night missions, about the times I'd been the difference between my men living or dying. Then came the day everything changed. It was a Saturday afternoon in early October. Sarah had dropped Emma off for our weekly grandfather-granddaughter day. Emma was 8 years old, with blonde pigtails and a smile that could light up the darkest room. She was the joy of my life, the reason I'd survived all those years of war, knowing I'd come home to watch her grow up. We were in my front yard. I was teaching Emma how to identify different types of leaves for a school project. She was laughing, holding up an oak leaf and pretending it was a crown, when Carl came stumbling out of his house. It was 2 in the afternoon, and he was already drunk. Well, he slurred, walking across his lawn toward us. "The old man's got a little visitor. That your granddaughter, Georgie." I stood up, positioning myself between him and Emma. "Carl, go back inside, you're drunk." "I'm not drunk," he shouted, even though he could barely walk straight. "I'm just being neighborly, wanted to meet the little princess." "Emma, go inside the house," I said quietly. "But Grandpa, now, sweetheart." Emma heard something in my voice that scared her and she ran toward the front door. But Carl was faster than I expected. He lurched forward and grabbed Emma's arm, stopping her. "Where you going, little girl? I just want to say hi." Emma cried out in pain. His grip was too tight, leaving red marks on her small arm. And something inside me that I'd kept locked away for 16 years came roaring back to life. "Let her go," I said, and my voice had changed. It wasn't the voice of a quiet old man anymore. It was the voice of a ranger sergeant giving orders in a combat zone. Carl looked at me and laughed. "Or what, old man? What ray you gonna?" I moved. 3 steps and I was on him. I grabbed his wrist with one hand, applying pressure to a specific nerve cluster that made his hand open involuntarily. Emma pulled free and ran into the house. With my other hand, I grabbed the back of Carl's neck and swept his legs out from under him. He went down hard, face first into my lawn. Before he could recover, I had my knee on his back and his arm twisted behind him in a control hold. Not enough to break anything, but enough that any movement would cause significant pain. "Listen very carefully," I said quietly, my mouth close to his ear. "I'm a retired Army Ranger. I've been trained to kill people with my bare hands. For 3 years I've let you disrespect me, insult me, and make my life miserable. I didn't respond because I took an oath to leave that life behind, but you just touched my granddaughter, you hurt her, and that changes everything." Carl was trying to struggle, but every movement made the pain worse. "Let me go. I'll call the cops. This is assault." "Please do call the cops," I said calmly. "I'd love to explain to them why there are red marks on my 8-year-old granddaughter's arm. I'd love to show them the security camera footage I have of you grabbing her." I didn't actually have a security camera, but he didn't know that. "And while we're at it, we can discuss your drunk and disorderly behavior, your property damage, your harassment. Should we call them right now?" Carl stopped struggling. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to apologize to my granddaughter. Then you're going to leave me and my family alone, completely alone. No more insults, no more stolen newspapers, no more anything. If you see me on the street, you're going to look the other way. And if you ever come near Emma again, what I'm doing to you right now will seem like a friendly handshake. Do you understand me?" "Yes," he gasped. "Yes, I understand." I let him go and stood up. He scrambled to his feet, holding his arm, his face red with humiliation and rage. Dorothy and 2 other neighbors had come out of their houses, watching the whole thing. Carl looked around at them, then back at me. "You're crazy," he muttered. "No," I said quietly. "I'm a grandfather protecting his family. There's a difference." Carl opened his mouth like he wanted to say something else, then thought better of it. He turned and stumbled back to his house, slamming the door behind him. I went inside, where Emma was sitting on the couch crying. Sarah had arrived, Dorothy had called her, and she was holding Emma. When Sarah saw me, her eyes were full of questions. "Dad, what happened?" I knelt down in front of Emma and gently took her hand. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry that man scared you. Are you okay?" She nodded, wiping her tears. "You moved really fast, Grandpa, like a superhero." I smiled sadly. "Not a superhero, baby. Just a grandpa who loves you very much." Later, after Emma had calmed down and was watching cartoons, Sarah pulled me aside. "Dad, I've never seen you like that. What did you do to him?" I told her. Not everything about my past, but enough. I told her about the Rangers, about the training, about why I'd never fought back before. "But he touched Emma," I finished, "and that was a line he should never have crossed." Sarah hugged me tight. "Thank you for protecting her." Carl avoided me completely after that day. He'd see me outside and immediately go back into his house. The stolen newspapers stopped. The late-night music stopped. 6 months later, he moved out entirely. Dorothy told me he'd told someone I was a psycho ex-military guy, and that he wanted nothing to do with me. Good. That was exactly what I wanted. I'm 71 years old now, and I still believe in peace. I still believe that violence should be the absolute last resort. But I also learned something that day. There are lines that cannot be crossed, boundaries that must be defended. I'd let Carl mistreat me for years because I was afraid of what I might become if I fought back. But when he hurt Emma, I realized that being peaceful doesn't mean being weak. It means choosing your battles wisely and knowing when to stand your ground. Emma's 10 now, and she still talks about the day Grandpa went superhero mode. She doesn't understand the full story, and that's okay. All she needs to know is that she's safe, she's loved, and her grandfather will always protect her, no matter what it costs me. If this story resonated with you, or reminded you that quiet people aren't always weak people, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories from grandpas who have lived extraordinary lives. Share this with someone who needs to remember their own strength, and drop a comment telling me about a time you had to stand up for someone you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.